Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be ranking the Genshin characters by how they would fare in a zombie apocalypse. Now, real quick, I just want to put one rule into place, and that is that no character is going to have access to their vision or any form of elemental energy, if you will. This just makes it more of an even playing field. So with that in mind, let's get into it. So first up, we have Aether. Now, right off the bat, he has that whole plot armor shtick, so I definitely think he would survive, and he'd probably be the leader of a group, actually. Wait, Lumine. Yeah, these two are gonna be co-leaders, and you can debate that they would be on different sides, like they'd have different factions, but nah, we're taking the wholesome zombie apocalypse route, where the siblings are on the same team, and the Abyss sibling, whichever one it happens to be, has that leadership experience, so yeah, they would be okay. Albedo definitely strikes me as a lone survivor. Yeah, because he's used to being secluded in the Dragonspine Mountains, that I feel like he already has a good survivalist mentality. And every now and then, he might have to go to the main city during the outbreak to maybe get a couple of supplies. But aside from that, he'd live alone in the mountains. None of the zombies would go there because it's cold. Yeah, he would be okay. Amber? Oh, wait. No, Amber definitely gives me heavy self-sacrifice vibes. Ooh, where's Kale? Okay, Kale. Yeah, so during the beginning of the outbreak, they would be together, right? And maybe Kale's in trouble, she's in a pinch, and Amber would be the one to get her out of a predicament, but Amber would notice she got bit, and then they'd have a really emotional heart-to-heart moment before Kale finally has to off Amber. Oh god! But yeah, Amber would sacrifice, and Kale, I think, would join the Lumine and Aether Foundation. Yeah, she'd go with the group after the traumatic experience. Next, we have Ayaka, and I think she would also survive in a group. Yeah, the Kamisato clan would just have like the Kamisato resistance, and the whole estate turns into a big fortress. Yeah, and they would probably be pretty safe because the Kamisato estate is pretty far away from the main city or Rito. So I think the only issue they might have is going to get supplies from time to time. And actually, where's Sayu? Yeah, Sayu will be the supply getter. So every now and then when they need a restock on food, they send Sayu to Inazuma City or Port Rito just to get some generic supplies. Yeah. And also, I guess we're doing the whole Kamisato clan at once here. Where's Ayato? Yeah, and Ayato would be the leader of the Kamisato resistance. And every now and then they'd let people into their walls to help them out. Yeah, it'd be a whole ordeal with these guys. Barbara? Ooh. I think Barbara would succumb to the pressure because she's been through so much already that I think she would just starve to death. Like, she would be in the church when everything goes down, and she would just lock herself in a room, and all she does is hear screaming outside. So she'd be too scared to leave, and maybe Jean is kind of busy with the outbreak with the knights, so she wouldn't be able to get to safety. Aww. Yeah, I think Barbara would unfortunately starve to death. Beidou. Ooh, she's the leader. Yo, wait, okay. Here's the thing. Beidou has the cheat code of having a boat during the zombie apocalypse, because you never see ships or boats in zombie movies because they're too OP. So with that in mind, every now and then they'd have to dock at the Liyue harbor to get some stuff, and she might lose a man or two, but I think her as the really strong powerhouse leader who doesn't even need a vision, mind you, because she fought a whole water dragon with just her bare sword in hand with no elemental powers. Yeah, nah, Beidou would be fine. Benny, you guys knew where he was going, let's be real. See, I still don't get if Benny's luck is related to him directly, or is it just like bad luck pheromones, where everybody around him will die. Either way, he's dying first though. Because he's also kind of naive and wholesome, where I can imagine when the outbreak starts, he goes up to a walker, and he's like, "Are you okay, bro?" And he just gets bit on the arm, and then everything just starts to turn turn black for him. Like, he'll be like, what is happening? Yeah, the boy Benny would meet a miserable fate, unfortunately. Chung Yun, I think, would probably be too stressed. Wait a sec. With Chung Yun, he's an exorcist, right? Are zombies technically demons or evil spirits? I'm gonna say no, actually. So if they were, I think he would be the lone survivor because he'd be able to survive by exorcising zombies. But without that idea, he would starve to death. Yeah, I think he'd be huddled up in a cabin in the woods, maybe. And he'd run out of popsicles, which are his, like, de-stressing medication, if you will. And I think he wouldn't be able to handle it. He might have, like, a stroke or something. Yeah, our boy would unfortunately succumb. D-Luke gives me such lone survivor vibes. Like, the thing is with D-Luke, he's a good person and he'll help people out. And maybe the Knights of Favonius will have like a headquarters, like a safe zone. And every now and then D-Luke will bring survivors to them, right? But D-Luke would never join a group or a cause. He would help people because he wants to, but he himself would always be alone, traversing through the wilderness and just being a good guy. But he would never align himself with a cause. That's the big thing with D-Luke. Next we have Diona. Ooh, this is a tricky one. Because I think Diona's actually smarter than a lot of us give her credit to be. So I'll put her in survives in a group. Because there's this weird idea that I have where every zombie apocalypse like safe haven or city always has this one bar with a bartender. And I feel like it would be Diona. And she would have a genuine reason to be stressed and angry during a zombie apocalypse. And honestly, I don't think it would affect the mood of the patrons because everyone would understand she's probably just stressed out because the zombies are outside. But no, Diona would just be angry that people are drinking, even during an apocalypse, yeah. Fischl is 100% getting killed by another person. Nah, even if she somehow manages to survive the initial outbreak, I think maybe she'll be traversing on her own with Oz. And she'll come across another group of people and she would start talking gibberish to them. She'd be like, "Mine fair survivors, would thou care to join my cause?" And let me tell you, during the apocalypse, no one has the patience. So they would probably just rob Fischl, but Fischl would just be like, "How dare thee?" And then she would just get shot in the head. Nah, Fischl would not last long. People would not be able to tolerate her in a zombie apocalypse, nah. Ganyu? Aw, bro. Ganyu's giving a lot of self-sacrifice vibes, yeah. So Liyue is gonna have like its fortification process where they're trying to build like a barrier around the city, but they need to fend off the zombies until it's done. So I feel like Ganyu would be protecting the doggos and the children, but eventually she would get bit. Like she would tell the kids, "Go hide in the house." And they'd be like, "But what about you, Ganyu?" Ganyu would just be like, "Don't worry, guys, I'll be fine." But we all know she wouldn't be fine. It'd be a very honorable death, yes. And I think Ningguang would have like a service for her. Yeah, actually, where's Ningguang? We'll do Ningguang real quick. There she is. Yeah, Ningguang would be the leader of the Liyue Defense Force. And I think this is the most justifiable thing because everybody would trust Ningguang unconditionally because she genuinely just cares about the people's safety. She's not a corrupt leader or anything like that. So I think she's kind of self-explanatory. Even in a zombie apocalypse, she would be the queen bee. I had to adjust my screen real quick, sorry guys. But next up we have Hu Tao. So right off the bat, Hu Tao strikes me as one of two things. The first one is the first dead because she would experiment on some zombies. But I think the more likely scenario is that she's the leader of a survival group, but not just any group. It would be a cult. So Hu Tao would be the organizer of the survivalist cult, and they would experiment on zombies, like try to talk to the dead kind of thing. And then I need to bring Chi-Chi into this. These two are like a package deal. With that in mind, Chi-Chi's kind of already the first dead. Yeah, she beat everybody else to it. Even if she just stays like this kind of zombie, for some reason, I can picture Hu Tao being the resident Grim Reaper because now she has every justification to potentially kill Chi-Chi, which is kind of messed up to be honest. And poor Chi-Chi probably doesn't have anybody who can trust her anymore because she's a zombie in the apocalypse. Usually those two don't mesh well, to say the least. But yeah, either way, Chi-Chi's either already dead or will die again, I guess. Jean would initially be a leader, but I think she would self-sacrifice herself. Yeah. Okay. Klee would be outside of the walls doing some dumb stuff because Klee's a child, right? So maybe she thinks she's helping by going to find food in the wild, and she sneaks out of the main safe zone. So Jean goes looking for her and eventually finds her like surrounded by zombies. And she'll defend Klee and get bit in the process. And I think this would be the thing that leads to Klee's growth. Wait, Klee having growth? Who would have thought? But yeah, after Jean sacrifices herself and Klee goes back to the base, I think she might be a bit of a different person and take things more seriously. Yeah, okay, I like that. Kaya, ooh. I feel like Kaya would have no issue sacrificing others to survive. Maybe not kids, because he's tight with kids, but I definitely think he would be the lone survivor. Yeah. Similar to D-Luke, if he sees maybe a child in need, he might bring them to the Knights headquarters, like on their doorstep, but him, he might rob from people in the wild and just do his own thing. Yeah, Kaya's mostly the self-serving man, I think, yeah. Kashing, ooh, Kashing strikes me as the type who would be really affected by Ganyu's death, because they're kind of like besties. So I think after Ganyu's sacrifice, Kashing would just put in more work to keep everybody safe. And she would work directly under Ningguang because I think she would trust her. So yeah, I think Kashing is definitely the type that has probably lost a lot of friends during the apocalypse, but she herself would never give up and keep trying to fight for all these kids here, man. Yeah. Lisa? Ooh. Would Lisa survive? This is a tricky one. Ooh, I think debatably after Jean's death, she might become the leader of like the Knights Resistance. Actually, no, I can't see Lisa realistically ever wanting to be a leader. Even after her wife is dead, I think she might actually take Klee and maybe join up with another group, like the Lumine and Aether group, if you will. Yeah, okay, she'd take the kid and go to another safe area because I think maybe the Knights headquarters would fall apart after Jean's death. Mona? Mona's 100% starving to death. Ooh, wait. Maybe she would see into her scry glass and realize the upcoming end of the world. And maybe she'd try to actually take herself out. With that in mind, the closest thing to offing yourself on this list is starving to death. Yeah. And maybe she would try to tell everyone, warn them of the upcoming end of the world, but everyone would just think she's crazy. So I think she would just suffer, go into a room on her own, and just never come out. And eventually she would just hear screaming outside, and she would just be like, I told y'all. Noelle, 100% the self-sacrifice. With the initial outbreak, the zombies will be at the wall, like the main entrance of Mondstadt, and she would tell everyone, get behind me! And she would just be swinging, offing as many zombies as she can. And she doesn't really need her vision because she just has that brute strength. And I think she would hold out for such a long time, but she's not invincible at the end of the day. And eventually she would get bit in a place that isn't protected by armor. And that would be the end of the keeper of the gate, Noelle. Yeah, she would definitely like guard the main entrance with her life. Razor? Ooh. I think he might actually be a lone survivor because he's used to being in the wilderness on his own, hunting, knowing how to scavenge for food. Yeah. And I think he might notice Benny turn into a zombie. And at that moment, he would know like what the whole concept of the undead are and would just be a lone survivor. Yeah, he'd set up a tent in the woods. He'd have a bunch of traps where zombies can't get to him. Razor would be okay, I think. Yeah. Sucrose? Ooh. Wait, oh, I have a sad thing. Okay, so she would be in the same group as Kale. And after Amber's death, Kale would just be secluded. Yes, she would be in a group, but she would talk to anybody. But then Sucrose comes in and opens up Kale's bubble. And I think it would be really emotional. Kale needs someone like Sucrose, especially in a zombie apocalypse setting. Man, we need a bit of that wholesomeness. But yeah, Sucrose would be okay, I think. Next up, we have Tartaglia. I think he'd be the lone survivor because he would just be the type that would kill zombies for fun. And debatably, at some point, he might get reckless and get bit on accident, but I think he has enough combat experience. Like, I think he'd survive without a vision, kind of just okay. And he's also used to the harsh living conditions of Snezhnaya, so he'll have the ability to adapt to the situation, I think, pretty quickly. And I don't think he would stay with the Harbingers when the apocalypse starts. So yeah, he's gonna be the lone survivor. Venti? Okay, every group of survivors needs a lighthearted drunkard. And there would be a bunch of really stressed grown men at Diona's survivalist bar, and then Venti would just come in nonchalantly, just playing a song for everybody. And I think it might actually help improve morale overall. And having a strong morale in a zombie apocalypse is such an important thing to have. Honestly, I think Venti would be heavily underestimated because drinking in an apocalypse as well is such a normal thing. Like, bro, everyone except the kids would just be drinking on occasion just to de-stress. But Venti would survive, yeah. Zhang Ling would 100% be in a group because she's needed. Like, you need a chef in a zombie apocalypse because there's no Uber Eats anymore. You can't just order your food. You need to have someone who knows how to make it. And having Zhang Ling in a kitchen actually making good food in an apocalypse, like, I feel like she could make a good meal out of like dirt. Yeah, and Guobo would also be very nice to have. He'd improve morale. Yeah, she'd be okay. Zhao, 100% self-sacrifice. Yeah, I could imagine he would be the messenger of Liyue, letting them know what's about to happen. Like, he'll be in the wild and he'll see the horde of zombies coming to the gates of Liyue, and he'll just warn everybody, the zombies are coming. And unfortunately, I think he will already be bit, but he'll hold off for as long as he can. And he performed his duty by letting everybody know and giving them time to prepare. Next, we have Jing Cho. I can imagine him actually probably getting killed by another person. Yeah, because someone like him who's very justice orientated in an apocalypse like setting. If you've ever seen an apocalypse movie or played like the Walking Dead games, you know that if you have a high moral compass, you're usually one of the first people to die. And I think he would get killed by a bad group of people, like some really rebellious, live in the woods, just want to rob everybody for all they have kind of people. And I think it would be really sad because he's a good kid, but I think it would be an unfortunate end to the Justice Boy. Jin Yan? Why do I feel like she'd be one of the first people dead? Because the whole music motif, like playing a guitar, that's a very loud instrument, mind you, just maybe out in the open. Okay. Maybe the zombies are starting to get into the city a little bit, and she's trying to protect everybody else. So she starts playing her guitar to get all the zombies to come towards her. And eventually they would just overrun outrun her, she'd be smacking as many of them as she can with her guitar. But eventually, I think she would succumb. Yeah, debatably, it could be a self-sacrifice, but the first one dead tier is looking a little empty. So we'll put her here. Zhongli, see, he's technically just an old wise man. So I'm gonna put him in survives in a group because his very broad knowledge base, I think would be really helpful to have in a zombie apocalypse, yeah. Because he probably knows a lot of the layout and geography of the land, which can help them get around if they need to. Yeah, I think Zhongli would be okay. Rosaria, 100% the lone survivor. She would be very similar to, where's Yelan? Yeah, these two would just be doing their own thing, like it's just another Tuesday to them. The world would be ending, and debatably Yelan would work for Ningguang, but I don't think she would care because there's no money when the apocalypse starts, right? So I think they might both like save a random person from time to time, but they would never join up with anybody, and they have a lot of combat experience, so they would definitely be able to handle themselves. Yeah, they would both be the respective lone survivors of Liyue and Mondstadt. Eula, I could also see being part of the Lisa group. Yeah, who works under Jean, but after Jean dies, Eula would join Lisa in Klee and join up with Lumine and Aether's group. But I think Eula actually has enough combat experience to protect herself. As Lisa, Klee, and Eula are making their way towards a safe zone, Eula would definitely be the protector of the group. Like, she'd be swinging that greatsword left and right, saving as many people as she can. Yeah, Eula would be a survivor just in a group, I think. Yanfei. See, the thing is, having a broad variety of knowledge about the law isn't really important in a zombie apocalypse because there are no laws when it's the end of the world. With that in mind, because of her heavy justice motif she has, similar to Zheng Cho, I think she would also get killed by another person. Reluctantly, yes, but I think she would be robbed as she was maybe trying to negotiate terms with some other people, and she would probably get offed at the same time. Unfortunately, but yeah. Kazuha, I think, would be the lone survivor that helps people. Yeah. So he would start off on Beto's ship, but he would tell Beto to let him off somewhere so he can wander the wilderness and just save as many people as he can. And maybe eventually he would start his own survival group, but I think it's more likely that he's the lone survivor. Yeah. My girl, Yoimiya. Wait, why do I see my wife as being the first one dead? Because maybe she sees them coming into Inazuma City, and she would probably see them and be like, hey, what's up, guys? And goes up to a zombie and they just bite her. And she's like, well, that was very rude. Yeah, I think she would be too wholesome and nice for the apocalypse. Like, someone like her surviving when it's the end of the world, nah, I want her to go out before things get too bad. You feel me? Raiden is 100% the lone survivor. Ooh, okay, wait, no. Her and Miko are like a survivor group, and it's literally just them because they're the perfect mix of bronze and brains. Because even without her godly powers or elemental energy, she would be just the combat aficionado and be protecting Miko just by cutting down zombies left and right. But Raiden herself isn't that smart, I don't think. But Miko is, and she likes Miko, so I think they would stick together when it's the end of the world and just look out for each other. Yeah. Sarah is 100% self-sacrificing herself. Yeah. Her and just the shogunate would protect as many civvies as they can, but eventually I think she would get overrun and it would just be a very honorable like death, and she would just look up to the shogunate castle, give one final wink before she goes out. Yeah. Kokomi, I think, would still be a leader, even in a zombie apocalypse, yeah. She would have like a whole fortified defense on Watatsumi Island, and if somehow the zombies get to her there, I think she would be ready for them. With that in mind, actually, where's Goro? Yeah, Goro would be in Kokomi's group, and they would probably have a pretty chill life because zombies would likely not get there for a while, but when they do get there, I think they would have the necessary precautions in place to hold out against an attack. Aloy, I don't know much about her, but she would definitely be the lone survivor, I think, because she's already the hunter. So she's used to hunting, cooking, pitching up tents, hiding in safe spaces in the wild. Yeah, Aloy would be just perfectly fine on her own. Toma, 100%, is also surviving in the Kamisato Brigade. I should have put him here earlier, but yeah. So everyone has their respective uses. Ayaka provides the moral support and the wholesomeness. Toma provides the culinary expertise. He knows how to take care of everybody. And Sayu's the reconnaissance girl. And they all work under Ayato to make sure everybody's safe. Yeah. Ito? Honestly, I think he'd more than likely get killed by another person. Yeah, because he's not so dingus that he would just get bit right away. But I think he would underestimate the threat of another person who just has a gun. Or even just a bow and arrow. So he would go up to another group and be like, hey guys, give me your food. The Arataki gang demands your substance. And then the other group would just pull out their firearms, ready to off the entire Arataki gang. But then Shinobu steps in and she would negotiate terms, and she herself, I think, would be okay. She would end up being a lone survivor, but Ito and the boys, I think, even if it's not in that instance, would eventually get offed by another person, just for being reckless, I think. But Shinobu, I think, could take care of herself in the wild. On her own, yeah. Shenhe, wait. Why do I feel like she would be part of the Lumine and Aether group, but eventually would self-sacrifice herself? Yeah, for her besties, and as they're setting up the safe zone, Shenhe would just be fighting off zombies for days on end. And even if the zombies don't get to her, I think she would eventually wear herself out and go out in a blaze of glory. The queen who protected us all. Yunjin? As much as I like her and everything, I think she might starve to death because she's kind of like the rich girl who's very seclosed in Liyue. So when everything goes to just smithereens when the apocalypse starts, I don't think she'd be able to handle it. Like, her theater managers and everything would probably tell her to hide at this specific area, and I think Yunjin would just be too scared to come out and would succumb to starvation. Unfortunately, I think that's how she would go out. Yeah. Heizo? Honestly, as much as I don't think he has like the necessary talents to survive on his own, I think he would survive in a group and just persuade people to let him join their cause. Because Heizo has a really good way with words that even if he's not the most technically helpful person, people would still want him as part of their team because he'd be good for negotiating with people. Yeah, the suave man would squeeze his way into a group, I think. Tagnari? Why do I think he would be okay as the leader of Gandharvaville? Because the rainforest, I think, are a very good spot to be in the apocalypse because you have all these different herbs and foods at your disposal pretty easily. Ooh, okay, wait. Also, I think Sino would be the messenger that lets Tagnari and his group know that the apocalypse is starting. Yeah, so Tainari would be fine, but Sino, I think, would be a lone survivor. He would be running around Sumeru, trying to help as many people as he can, but similar to Diluc, I don't think he would ever fully align himself with a cause. Like, Tainari would ask him to stay in the village and just stay safe with him, but Sino would know his obligations as the Matra are to save as many people as he can. Dory? I think Dory's likely getting killed by another person because it's, again, in the apocalypse, people don't have the patience. So she would initially be part of a survivalist group and she would go to another group to negotiate terms and offer like a trade or something. But the thing is, I think Dory would get really greedy and she would try to get as much as she can. And I think this would result in the other group just killing the messenger, that being Dory. hungry. Yeah, she's too big for her brunches. I think that's the saying, maybe. Nilou, I think she would sacrifice herself for the Grand Bazaar. Yeah, like the zombies would start rushing in from all 3 of the tunnels, and she would hold them off for as long as she can, even though she has very little combat experience. All the kids and the elderly people would just be like, Nilou, don't do it! But she would fight till her last breath to make sure her family is okay. And it would be a really emotional and touching moment. But I think she would go out on her own terms by protecting what she loves. Candace, I thought about this before, but I think Candace would still be the leader of Aru Village. And she would be completely fine because it's very hard for zombies to survive in like the desert, bro. Like, how are they gonna walk or run on the sand? It's gonna be a lot trickier. And she's already used to leading people in very rough conditions. So I think zombies, like the rest of Sumeru, would be fighting for their lives, but Candace and her squad in the desert would just be chilling, bro. Like it's just another Friday night. Yeah, she would be okay. Nahida is a mix of leader and must be protected at all costs. I'm gonna put her as the leader of Sumeru because I think she would try to save as many people as she can. Out of all the gods, she's definitely the most obligated to the safety of her people. Like, she cares the most, is what I'm saying. I think she would transform the sanctuary where she was captured into like a safe haven. Yeah. Okay, wait, and where's Scaramouche? Scaramouche would survive with Nahida as part of that same little group. And Scaramouche would be the protector of the gate and would just follow Nahida's instructions in keeping people safe. Because Scara, I don't think really gives a rat's poop. But Nahida, I think he would listen to her because he kind of looks up to her. Yeah, we're gonna go with that scenario. Lila, I think... Okay, she would be the first dead, and I don't think she would care. Like, she would just look outside as she's studying and just see the end of the world. And Lila herself would probably just be kind of okay with it because no amount of pain and suffering can compare to being abused by the education system. Yeah, I think she would just walk outside and be like, take me zombies, I'm so tired. Honestly, even if she didn't off herself, I think she probably wouldn't survive. It's tricky with Lila, but yeah. Faruzan, I think, would survive in a group. Yeah. So she would be part of the Nahida squad. Yeah, actually, no. She'd be part of the Tignari squad. And she would help the people of Gandharvaville with setting everything up. And she's very good with machinery. So maybe she'd be able to construct some ruin guards to protect the outskirts of the village. Yeah, okay. So they'd have like a whole defense plan. And Faruzan would be an integral part of making sure everything runs smoothly. Yeah. Yao Yao is not dying no matter what. And funny enough, she's literally gonna be more useful than 75% of the people on this list because of her knowledge in the medical field and just her caring like nature. She would definitely be the doctor of the apocalypse. Yeah, actually, she would work directly under Ning Guang because I think Ning Guang, even though Yao Yao is young, I think she would trust her enough because of her honest and caring nature. Either way, Yao Yao's fine. She's not dying. Al-Haitha. See him, actually, where's Kave? Both of these characters, I think, would get into beef. And I think one of them would kill the other. Yeah, and let's be real, if they had an actual fight, I think Kave is more than likely gonna be the one who dies. Meanwhile, Al-Haytham would probably join up with a group. Actually, no, I was gonna say he'd need a group, but I think he would survive on his own because he has a vast array of knowledge in that large brain of his that I think he could take care of himself after offing his debatably best friend. end. But yeah, I'll hate them off Kave. They can't handle each other when it's the end of the world. Dea, I think, would be the leader of a group who just saves people. Yeah, she would go around seeing people who are in need of help, just give them food and offer them the choice to join her or stay on their own. And I think everybody would just say yes to her offer because of how chill and strong she is. She has all the qualities she needs to be the perfect leader in a zombie apocalypse. Like, she's literally flawless. Mika would survive in a group because he has that terrain knowledge. The layout of the land is such an important thing to know when the world is ending. So I think he would be with the Lisa and Eula squad, and as they're escaping to find Lumine and Aether's base to find a safe haven, I think Mika would be the land surveyor. Like, he would know which directions to take, which safe areas to go through. Yeah, Mika would be okay. Baiju, he strikes me heavily as the type to get baked out of his mind. Like, when the apocalypse starts, he would just be like, nope, I'm not going through with this, and just lights up some herbs and just tries to ease the stress. So with that in mind, I'm gonna put him in probably one of the first to die. All right, guys, so this is the zombie tier list. Had a lot of fun doing this. Let me know who you think the best leader in a zombie apocalypse like setting would be. And with that in mind, I gotta go rats now, but thanks for watching, guys, and have a good one. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Please sub. Bye.